What's your name?
Joseph Chapman.
How's your day today?
It's been good. I woke up feeling good, so I can't complain.
Alright, so we'll just get straight into the questions. Can you tell me a little about your childhood?
I grew up with two parents in the household up until I was 9 years old. Parents split up. They had issues like every family. My mom basically cheated on my dad and broke up the family. And then, I just had to learn how to cope without my pop around for a while and dealing with the asthma, but at the most part, it's, I guess, pretty normal for today's standards.
What were your dreams as a child?
I used to love baseball, so as a kid, I used to dream of playing for the Yankees and being a catcher. And then that kind of went out the window because my asthma was just too much for me to cope with, and I wanted to be a psychologist because my aunties used to say I was good at playing with people's minds.
Yeah.
And I just figured, okay, let me be a psychologist.
Can you tell me about your relationship with your dad and how he generally made you feel?
My relationship now with my dad is great, but it took a lot of time for us to get here. A lot of healing, but growing up again when my dad left, we didn't have a relationship, and my mom was too busy working, so my friends were my father figures. But my dad, when he did come back around when I was about 15, 16, he really did try to fix those times that we lost. And
how did that feel when you tried? Like, how did his effort make you feel as a son of his?
It made me feel wanted. My mom used to brainwash us and tell us my dad didn't want anything to do with us. I had a lot of built up anger towards my dad because of it. And so when he came around, that's when me and my mom started having problems because I started to question her. So it felt good. Then we fell out for a little while. But that's on my part. But he was still there on the sidelines though. And but this past 4 years, we've never been as close as we are now. This guy's my best friend. I don't even know if I'd even be around right now. He didn't intervene when he did.
What about your relationship with your mom, and how did she generally make you feel?
I have a lot of anger towards my mom. In fact, if my sisters or my mom sees this, my mom will probably be hurt, but I've let her know how I felt towards her.
Why do you have so much anger towards her?
She abandoned me, man.
How old were you when she abandoned you?
When I was 18, 19, I wasn't doing so great. I was struggling. I got addicted to Xanaxes. Struggled for years with cough medicine. And my mom just left me and let me to fend for myself in the streets. I couldn't even go to her house to get anything to eat or to see my brothers or sisters. She would close the door on me. And after a couple of years of me really reaching out for help to her, I just gave up. And I just figured she fell out of love with me because I fell back in love with my dad. It's been...
Do you feel that's the reason that she turned her back on you?
part of me feels like it is. And the other part of me feels she couldn't handle the pressure of what I was doing and the pressure of my health. And she just had to think of my younger siblings. But some things that she did, I just don't think I would forgive her for. As a parent, I always believed you'd be there for your kid no matter what. Till this day, I can't even call my mom. I text her. She's not going to pick up.
What did you learn from both of your parents?
I don't think I learned anything from my mom other than not to abandon your kids. But from my dad, my whole life I seen this guy get up early in the morning, go to work every day, and come back home. So for my mom to call him this guy who didn't take care of his kids or a monster, I just can't see that. So my dad taught me, take responsibility for your actions, keep your head up, and to always work. He taught me how a man's really supposed to provide for his family. And he's never sat down and told it to me. He's always showed it to me. And one day I just hope I can fill half of his shoes.
Tell me about your first love and the emotions you felt with that.
That's a tough one. I know my first love, but it's just,
doesn't matter.
I know she is. Just it's a hard one to talk about because I'm still dealing with the scars. I thought I was in love back in middle school, but that wasn't love. My first love was this Italian girl from Pedro, and I don't want to say her name in case she sees this, but we were together for 12 years.
Yeah.
And
how did that feel?
I've never felt something as beautiful as that was. But I've never felt as much pain at the end of it either. So much pain, in fact, I honestly don't think I ever want to be married. I want to have kids, but I just don't want to fall that deep in love anymore.
Because of the...
It's been 3 years that we've been broken up, and I'm still hurting every day. I gotta fight not to text her. And when she texts me, I gotta fight with myself not to reply back. She still wants to be friends. Like somebody taking a knife, just stabbing you straight in the gut multiple times. It gives me knots. And just probably like every other guy, I've been up countless nights thinking about her still. Thinking about what ifs. I mean, it started off as a one-night stand. Never in my life did I think it would have turned into what it was. Never. She was a good girl, man. She was always there for me in the hospitals. I miss her.
Can you tell me about your first loss or heartbreak? This can be in any realm of your life. And how that felt.
I've lost relatives and everything, but I was young at the time, so I didn't really understand the loss. But my first loss that I was really able to understand happened back in my 21st summer, 2011, July 31st. I got a phone call from a close friend of mine that my big homie, my brother, my cousin, Stanley, called him SD, had passed away in a car accident. I still remember where I was at and who I was with. Music by the Sea. My two close friends, Eric and Ellen. I just remember they grabbed me because I dropped my phone. And they didn't know what was going on. And I had an asthma attack. And that just screwed me up. I got lost for a few years, man. to where my dad even sat down and said, I don't know who you are anymore, but you need to find yourself. And then I left his house. I didn't know what to do when he was gone because I never thought he would leave. None of us did. He was our general. Shit, man, this guy was the first guy that ever taught me how to really take a punch and still stand up if you get knocked down. We used to get money together, and when he was gone, the whole get money, the whole females, the whole party, everything just went out the window, and I just wanted to stay in home and not do anything. And it tears me up till this day. Never got to say goodbye to him. But his dad taught me that you got to tell the ones that you love that you love them right now. 'Cause what if they don't wake up? And I never got to tell him that I loved him. But I'm sure he knows I did.
Who first taught you love and how?
My grandma. As a kid, me being sick with my asthma all the time, my grandma was always the one to come and just let me put my head on her chest and rest. And she would always tell me, "Mijo, no llores. Mijo, no llores." And I knew I could always go to her for anything. There was things that my grandma caught me doing that she never even told my mom or dad, you know, but she would sit down and she would talk to me about it, but she wouldn't scold me. She would just let me know there's other things to do than to do this or to do that. She wouldn't judge me. And so yeah, my grandmother, she taught me what unconditional love was.
How'd that love feel?
It felt 10 times better than when I fell in love with my ex.
How so?
Because I know now my ex probably still doesn't have any love for me. But my grandmother, through all the dirt and BS I've done in my life, I could call her now, she'll still pick up and ask me how my day was, if I ate, if I'm hungry. And then she'll tell me at the end of the phone call that she loves me. No matter what.
What's love to you? And has it always been the same or has it changed? If it's changed, what is it now compared to it was then?
Growing up, I didn't understand what love really was. I loved money because money bought me things. And then those things I bought vanished right away. As I got older, and unfortunately as I started seeing a lot of friends going to jail, passing away, a lot of family members passing away, I started to feel emptiness inside from their passing. And then I started to feel regret for not expressing how I felt towards them when they were here. And then from that regret though, I learned to cherish the time that you have with your loved ones while you still can. And so I learned money doesn't bring you happiness. Material things doesn't bring you happiness. It's the people around you that bring you that happiness. The things you do for them or the things they do for you and that you see and you appreciate. And I'm barely starting to learn that right now as we speak. I don't have too many people that I call my friends right now. Just because that's how life is. They find a funny way to wean people out that are not really good for you, that may be toxic in your life. And I'm appreciating the close-knit of friends that I do have. And I see them more as family than friends because I'm understanding what's really important in life instead of valuing what I used to. I mean, I'm blessed to have the friends and the type of relationships that I have with them that I do today.
Tell me about a good day for you.
A good day. It's a day like today. I could wake up with no pain. Wake up not being worried if, my rent's not paid or not. if my lights are not on, and being able to actually take a walk and breathe okay doing it. It may sound funny, but people take breathing for granted, and I did too. And then when my breathing got worse, I started to realize growing up it wasn't so bad, and then it got even worse. So good days would be like a day to today, like a day as today. I was able to get up. I didn't feel any pain. I only had 2 breathing treatments the whole day, which is amazing. I was able to walk multiple blocks, which is amazing. So beautiful days just for me is basically a regular day for somebody else.
Can you tell me about a bad day and how you push through that bad day? Be specific with how you push through the bad day.
A bad day probably be the day they told me that I had
just a bad day in general, like just a normal bad day, like you know how we all wake up and like fuck this.
Oh yeah.
Day. You know what I mean? Like just
a day that man
like
just
a regular bad day.
When I wake up and I have text messages from people that I'm really not trying to hear from.
Yeah.
If you don't respond back, you're getting blown up all day.
Yeah.
And then when you see them in public, can't lie to them. They're going, hey, I called you, I texted you.
Yeah.
You know, what am I going to say? You know, and the type of friends and people I deal with, they're persistent.
Yeah.
They're going to call. Sometimes they even show up just randomly at the house. Hey, I've been, calling and texting you. What's up? And I find myself sometimes, hiding in the bathroom from people knocking on the door because I don't want to be bothered by certain people.
Why are all these people knocking on your door?
It's not that a bunch of people knocking on my door like that. Okay, let me just put that out there. But I just, like I said, I got some good friends that get kind of worried if they don't hear back from me, or some just are bored.
How do you push through that bad day? How do you
when that does happen, I close the blinds and I play me some Nipsey Hussle.
Yeah.
And it takes me to a place that I'm learning a lot of people haven't been. But when you've had a background that I've had, and that's grown up in the gang world, being a Crip, and that's something that will always be in me, but you gotta let go at some point. And like they say, there comes a point where you gotta put childish things aside and become a man. And that's one of them. And that's one reason why sometimes there's bad days for me, and why sometimes I close those blinds on some people. Trying to escape that life isn't easy.
What is an event or person / people that has shaped you? It can be good or bad. And how does it feel when you reflect on that event or person?
An event that shaped me was, believe it or not, was the day I did get jumped into my gang. Because that day, my homies told me, because my uncle was in it, that I can just get a one-on-one. But I didn't want any passes off of my uncle's name or anything, so I took on everybody. And I remember just telling him that. And I rushed one of my big homies, and he had his mouth wired shut at the time, so I knew all the homies would come after me for doing that. And they did, and I got served. I did. But the reason why I said that shaped me is because I didn't know that I was going to say I didn't want to live in my uncle's shadow, and that I wanted to make my own shoes. And I just remembered walking up that day to my house after thinking to myself, you really stood your ground. You really said you wanted to make your own path instead of follow someone else's. And it's from that day that I guess you could say I was hard-headed, because I wanted to do my own thing. But I also look at it as it was that day where I guess I decided to stop living in other people's shadow and make my own way in this world. And ever since then, that's how it's always been.
What has inspired you and why?
Honestly, you. And it's because to see, where you came from, I had the same background. Growing up together, and you made mistakes, but you changed in a huge way. And you're making a difference in my life, because now I see that there's other ways to live life in a positive way. And where I'm from, there wasn't too many choices for us. I just want to say, I didn't pick that life. That life chose me. And that may sound cliche, but that's the truth. I grew up in that environment. That's all I knew. So to see somebody grow up in the same environment as me, and in my eyes, you left the hood, you made it out, you're alive, and you're doing something that's hopefully going to make an impact in the world, because it's making one of mine. Little by little, trying to think of ways to make a change for the good in my life, in a way that maybe it'll impact somebody else's life, whether it's one person or maybe whether it's 100. Just any change. But a change ain't gonna happen until I make a change in myself. That's what I'm working on. But seeing you, that's an encouragement. It really is.
What has been a humbling experience for you? Thank you for the compliment. Appreciate it. What has been a humbling experience for you, and can you describe your feelings during that humbling experience?
Break it down, the honest truth is there was days where I went 3-4 days without eating, because I just didn't have the money for it. And I was very prideful. So I didn't ask for help. I didn't tell anybody that I wasn't eating. I didn't tell anybody I was broke. I just let it be, and when it came, that's how I felt. Good friend of mine, my buddy Mario, he knew I wasn't eating, and he called me out on it. And he pulled me to the side and he said, "Look, I don't know what other friends you've ever dealt with, but I'm not like them. If you ain't eating, you need to tell me." And he fed me.
How did that feel?
At first I was kind of ashamed. Being a man, having another man need to feed you isn't exactly, prideful, but understanding that he's not doing it to have something over you. He's not doing it to put it out there to the world. That he's doing it because it was honest love. He really cared about me. He was really worried about me. And he didn't let anybody know. Not even his wife. And that's how he is. And that was really humbling, because he didn't ask for anything in return. He didn't ask for anything in return except for me to let him know if I ever get that bad again. And he had tears in his eyes out of frustration and hurt that I didn't come to him when I was struggling. And that's when I seen his sincerity. And it kind of hurt me too, because I said to myself, why did I feel like I couldn't come to this guy? When in the back of my mind I knew I could have. But it's that pride. That pride almost took me down. And it's taken me down before. But that was really humbling to see that there's still people like that in this world. And I didn't have to feel ashamed to reach out for help to him. And I never do. He made that very clear to me. that I never have to put my head down if I need help from him.
Go in your mind and think. This life event can be mental, physical, or spiritual. Tell me about a time in your life that you can relate with the word war.
I'm in war right now. For the past 3 years, I've been battling with a lot of health problems. Gets pretty scary, but I've learned to deal with them. But yeah, I'm in war right now, and what that means to me is you fight. You fight till there's no more breath inside of you. You fight until your heart stops beating. You fight until you just can't fight no more. And you can't lose. You can't lose in war, because if you lose in war, you lose your life. But I was ready for this battle. I was ready for this war because my whole life has been a war. I've had to fight my whole life. Whether it was to protect myself, whether it was to get healthy, whether it was to prove myself, whether it was to even try to get a relationship with my mom, I've always had to fight. That's all I know. All I know is war. All I know is chaos. I'm just learning now how to handle the war. How to really strategically fight these battles. So that's what war means to me. It's to fight till your heart stops beating.
Same thing. Go in your mind and think. This life event can be mental, physical, or spiritual. Tell me about a time in your life that you can relate to the word peace.
As soon as you said peace, I literally thought about the time I gave my life to Christ. Baptized November 2nd, 2008. I was tormented for a lot of things I did. And I was scared I was going to go to hell when I died, and that I was dying soon because of my health was going downhill. I ran to a church in Mount Street that's not there no more, called Hope Chapel. And I went there and I talked to the pastor and I let him know everything I did. I poured it out. I don't think I've ever let anybody know that much that I did that day. That I couldn't handle it no more. And he asked me if I wanted to give my life to Christ. And I cried. And he hugged me. And he told me things would be all right and to recite this prayer. And he told me to say the sinner's prayer with them. And I did. And it seemed like after I said it, though, a weight got lifted off my shoulders.
How's the prayer go?
I don't even remember it. I have it in my phone, but it's called the Serenity Prayer, to be exact. But that's why he had me repeat it. And it just, something inside me told me that I was going to be okay. Because I felt like I wasn't hiding from God all these secrets. And you can't hide secrets from God, but at that time, I was trying to hide a lot of secrets from him. And I think that's what tormented me the most. So when I released it all, it just brought me peace. It let me, I was able to sleep after that.
Tell me about a truly difficult time in your life and the emotions that came with it and how you endured.
It's when my grandfather passed away. He died of lung cancer. And before he died, me and him was sharing oxygen tanks together. But that brought us closer together than ever. So when he passed away, it hurt a lot. Because my grandpa was such a hard ass. Can I say ass? Hard ass that he never told us he loved us. And he definitely was not about to hug us. That was out the question. But in his own way, he would show some love. But I never got to tell him, hey, Grandpa, I love you, because that wasn't flying. But after he passed, I actually built a bigger relationship with them. And it may sound funny, but again, you know, I am spiritual in a way, and I talk to my grandpa more now than I ever did when he was alive. And yeah, I do feel he hears me and that he speaks to me. And it's kind of built me up to be stronger when it comes to losses and sorrow. But it's also showed me that you can't waste time with the people on earth that you love to show them that you love them. So his passing showed me a lot. It's taught me a lot. But it was also rough. But I think my grandpa would be proud to see the certain changes that I've done. I know he wanted me to make a lot of changes so I wouldn't make a lot of mistakes that he did. And I think right now he'd probably be really happy to see certain things that I've changed. Just wish he was here to see it.
Tell me about a truly joyous moment in your life and how that felt.
When my nephew was born, my older sister asked me if I wanted to be his godfather. And I respectfully said no at that time because I take that serious and I wasn't ready to be a godfather. And then she asked me if I would name him. And I just lit up like a Christmas tree, biggest smile on my face, and I immediately said, oh, Justin. I don't know why I wanted the name to be Justin instead of Joseph. But I don't know, that name always stuck with me. I always liked it. But I felt honored that she would allow me to name her firstborn. Yeah. And that she would even ask me to be his godfather. Which is why I had to respectfully decline, because I take that serious, man. Yeah. You know, that's a big step. If something was to happen to my sister, Lord forbid, that would have fell upon me to take care of him and so forth. I just wasn't ready at that time for that responsibility. Yeah. But it was just an honor and a privilege, and it was like it was my son that I'm naming, you know, but it was my nephew. And I just feel that because she allowed me to do that, me and him have this special bond that none of my nieces and nephews, me and them will ever have, you know, because she allowed me to name him. And I can't wait till he's a little bit older and I could tell him that story, how my sister let me name him. Yeah. Because he probably thinks his mom named him.
That's good. What keeps you up at night? And why do you think that is?
I have anxiety and PTSD.
Can you go through, like, specifically how that anxiety feel?
That anxiety is probably one of the biggest battles that I've ever had to deal with. I'd much rather have a regular asthma attack than have an anxiety attack. An asthma attack's no joke. At times, I feel like I can't breathe. And it's not like an asthma attack. I can't just use my inhaler and that breathing opens up. It doesn't work like that. Yeah. To the point to where sometimes I've been had to rush to the ER because of a panic attack that turned into me getting intubated. That's how severe my anxiety gets. You know, I've cried over my anxiety and not even know why the hell I was crying. And it frustrates me at times. And then my anxiety, it angers me because I know that's what got me addicted to the Xanax. Because the doctor's way of dealing with them is, let me give you this medication to shut you up and put you out. They didn't tell me what it was going to do to me when I was taking it. I'm sorry, I'm getting like angry just thinking about it, man. Because it really screwed me up, bro. You know, I didn't wake up one morning and say I want to be addicted to Xanax. I woke up one morning and couldn't breathe because of an anxiety attack and had to be rushed to the ER because I'm out of Xanax. You know, and the next thing I know, instead of them finding another alternative, they release me on more Xanax. And then I'm hooked. Then I'm going through withdrawals if I don't have it. And it's not even so much my mind wants it, it's my body just needs it now to operate. Then it goes into your mental state because you rely on this medication to help you through these anxiety battles. So when you don't have it, you're panicking even more because that's all you know to run to is that medication to help you in those situations. And it gets to the point to where it's so crazy, bro. It makes you want to pull your hair out, man. I mean, it's something I don't wish on nobody because it's hard to even control. And that keeps me up at night, you know, especially because
Your
I be
thoughts just running wild too.
yeah, you know, you can't control
You
them.
can't control your thoughts.
You can't put them in one, you know, and then you get your mind on one thing, boom, and another thing comes, you know, and then you may not want to think about something, then that thing pops up.
Yeah.
Then you're thinking about that, and it frustrates you, or it may scare you. Like with me, if I start thinking about my breathing at night, it's gonna scare the crud out of me,
Yeah.
you know, and it doesn't help. It just escalates it more. I find I've been lighting lavender incense in the house and oils to try to help me because I'm really not trying to get back on taking all these pills for my anxiety and so forth. But anxiety is a monster in itself. You were talking about war earlier. That's war. That's war within yourself. How do you conquer yourself? That's hard to do. For some people, it takes a lifetime to conquer themselves. It's not easy, but that is war. That definitely is war.
What keeps you going every day?
My faith. I may not go to church every Sunday or anything of that sort, but I believe in the Lord. I believe in my word. I believe in what I read, and I believe in what I've seen him do. And I know that there's something way better for me in the future if I could just keep pushing. And plus my word tells me that God has a plan for us, you know, for us all, that God wants us to prosper and not to fail. And I hold on to those promises because God doesn't lie.
What do you think you need to do to see those promises fulfilled?
I need to seek him more. And I think that's something that's I've been known for the longest, but I've been really scared to do. A lot of people may say, oh, I'm seeking God, but do they really know what it means to seek God? You know, the word says you got to lose yourself in order, you know, to find yourself, you know, to prosper. And it's just a scary thing to do. To just entrust in something or someone that you can't see. And I think that's pretty scary. But my faith, knowing what he's already done, is what pushes me forward, because what he's done is amazing. So he can do even more. And I've seen him change people's lives, and I know that those people wouldn't have their lives changed unless God was involved. I know that to be a fact, whether they want to give him the glory or not. And I think we all know certain people like that. But to see that God work in those lives, then I know he can do that in mine. And that kind of faith, knowing that he's still there and he's waiting for me to trust in him all the way 100%. And that's what I need to do to get those promises, to open more up. I have doors closed on him right now, but my house has been open to him when my house used to be closed on him before. So it's a work in progress, but God knows and I know there's certain things that I need to let him in on. And that's when I think those promises that he makes and, you know, for us will start coming upon me, is when I start opening up more to him. You know, draw near to him and he'll draw near to you.
Imagine you're in the hospital today with only hours to live. What would be your regrets?
Think about that every time I'm in the hospital. Trust me, I do. So it's easy. My regret is not trying hard enough to mend things with my mom when I was trying. I also regret not telling my loved ones that passed away that I actually loved them. I grew up with the kid that I didn't express my love to my family members. I just didn't. But I loved them. And now I do regret not being able to actually say those words to my grandfather in front of him. Not being able to say those words to my uncle, and I just regret that mentality that I had back then. But because I know how I was then and how it affected me when they did pass, I understood that I needed to change that. And that's actually when me and my dad really, our relationship blossomed. Because my dad wouldn't hug me either, but I started to just hug him regardless. Now he'll hug me every time he sees me before I even open my arms. So in a way, I guess it kind of helped my dad too.
So you just told me what your regrets were. You're obviously here right now, alive and well. Do you feel that you could change those regrets moving forward, or if not change, make amends?
I feel I can change those regrets, but I don't feel I can change one of them.
What's the one of them?
My mom. I don't think I'll be able to mend that.
Do you want to change that?
Honestly, I don't. And the reason why I can say that so quickly and at ease is because I've wrapped my head around it. I'm not about to make somebody be in my life when they don't want to be.
Do you think you can forgive her?
In time. Because if I believe to, if I'm a believer in God, then I have to forgive. Because then how can God forgive me if I don't forgive? So in time, I pray that I can forgive her, but I'd be lying if I say I forgive her today. Because in my heart, I know I haven't.
When do you think you can start the process of forgiveness? Because it doesn't happen overnight. So when do you think that you would
honestly
be open about possibly forgiving her?
I want to forgive her, but then I don't at the same time. Because then I felt like I'm letting her off too easy.
But don't you think it's bringing you down at this point?
I do. I definitely do. And I wrestle with that every day.
Do you think you'd be able to forgive someone regardless of how they take your forgiveness? Just you doing to let it go for you?
I want to do that. That's what I want to do so bad. 'Cause I know even if I tell my mom I forgive her, she's going to be like, for what? Because in her mind, she didn't do anything. Because she don't want to hear it.
Yeah.
And then it won't change anything. She won't be like, okay, I forgive you now. Come back, Joseph. Here, you can see your brother again. My sister's 20-something years old, and she keeps her from me. She won't even let me call her on her cell phone. I don't even know her cell phone number. She had my sister block me on Instagram. This is a grown woman. My sister's 20-something years old. And so it's something this kills me, man. Because I don't want to be angry at the woman who gave me life. But I can't help it. And I'm trying to work on it. And that's what's scary, man. Because what if one day my mom wants to make amends, but I'm not ready to? As much as I miss her, again, bro, I'm just not. It's just hard to forgive her. It's something that I really need to work on. Really do. And I know that. And a part of me doesn't even know where to start that process at, though, to be honest. I don't know where to start that process at.
You told me that as a kid your dreams were to be a psychologist.
Yeah.
What are your dreams now?
Honestly, I want to be a youth pastor. And a lot of my friends know I've been saying that for maybe 10 plus years. The only reason why I haven't stepped into that role is because I know within these 10 plus years I was doing wrong. So how can I be a youth pastor if I'm doing wrong? So my dream is honestly one day to be a youth pastor, because I know how it is to be a kid and have your mom or your dad turn your back on you and you have to fend for yourself. And you got to look to your big homie who may not be doing right at that time either, but you look to him for advice. And when you tell him you're hungry, instead of him feeding you, he may just give you a gun and say, go rob this store. He may give you some dope and say, go hit this corner. So, you know, if I can keep one kid away from experiencing those hardships and mistakes I did, then my life meant something to me, and my life had purpose. And my youth pastor growing up, when I ran to him and got baptized, was my mentor, Dan Britton, and he showed me a whole new world. Instead of giving me dope to sell, he gave me food. But then he also showed me, hey, this is how you do an application for a job. This is how you dress for an interview. This is how you speak for an interview. I didn't have nobody to teach me that stuff growing up until I ran into him. And so I want to be able to do that for somebody else. And if I can do that and then bring them closer to God at the same time, then I'm doing God's work. I don't think there's anything more beautiful than that. And I really, really pray and hope that that's in store for my future. And that's something that's been on my heart for years.
You're the author of your life book. So these are the however many chapters towards the last third of it. How do you want it to end? How do you feel when it ends that way?
I'm not sure how I want it to end, because if it ends, that means I'm not around. You know, but if it has to end, which it does.
I mean, it can just be like, it doesn't have to be the actual end. Like, it could be like 30 years from now, you know what I mean? So just if
I make it 30 years from now, I'll be happy. Yeah. Let's just put that up there.
Exactly. Like if you're alive 30 years from now, like in that snippet, where are you? You know what I mean?
You know, I would want, honestly, at the end of everything, all said and done, again, it just goes back to, I want to make a change in somebody's life for the better. Because, again, just to see where you came from and what you're doing, it put a spark in me. And I've had bad role models and good role models in my life. And I've taken good and bad out of both sides. And I want to take that and my experiences and reach out to somebody who's struggling to make a better change in their life as well. So if I'm alive 30 years from now and a kid comes up to me and says, you know, I seen you on YouTube in a series, and what you were speaking on, it hit me because I can relate. For sure. Then honestly, that story ends beautiful. Because that's an effect that not just I solely had, but you as well. So any change on anybody's life that I can make would be a success for me.
As your pastoring kids, that's where we want you at.
Yes, that's the whole goal, you know what I mean, is me pastoring to reach out, you know, to change lives. Now, not every pastor changes lives, though. I understand that.
You want to be the one that...
But I want, exactly, so that's what I just want to put out there, you know what I mean? I don't want to drive up in a Bentley, walk in and everybody look at me like, okay, nah, that's not what I'm talking about.
That's it, bro. How was